Howdy partners, it's time to mosey on down the old memory trail again today, and we're going to go back to my other home in Tombstone, Arizona. Well, while living in Tombstone, I've long realized that I've been walking in the footsteps of the great and the good and the bad too, such as Wyatt Earp, Virgil Morgan Earp, the Clantons, the McClowrys, Doc Holliday. But I didn't realize that I was also walking in the footsteps of the greatest of them all, which is that giant of stage, screen and TV, Sir Tony Robinson, otherwise known as Baldrick. Our story starts today at a place that you'll hear me referring to in the next clip as Promthep, purely because it reminds me of a place in Thailand called Promthep Cape, but it's really the Shefflin Monument. This is located a couple of miles outside of Tombstone, and when I'm there I walk it quite regularly because it's damn good exercise, uphill and down dale. It's really very hilly. It's named after a man called Ed Shefflin, who was the guy that discovered Tombstone. No, he didn't. Tombstone wasn't there. He made the initial find of silver in the area that then later became Tombstone. March the 24th. Beautiful day today. Absolutely beautiful day today. I've walked out to Promthep, as you see, and there's Tombstone. But I'm sat in a new location. I'm sat on top of a load of boulders that are kind of looking out where I couldn't see before. Sir Tony can explain.
When the soldiers heard that Ed was heading off into the Apache-filled hills to seek his fortune, they said all he'd find was a tombstone, but they were wrong. He hit one of the biggest discoveries of silver in the West.
And moving into town, let's start off by visiting the Birdcage Theater. Here's a shot of the outside of it from my own archive. And here is the stage. I wonder what famous people have trod these boards.
Now, you might think that those boxes up there are for people to see the show, but they're not. That is where the prostitutes worked. And if they got a bit of business, they just pull the curtains across. But there was another bit of business too. A great piece of entertainment that went on below the stage. In there, the West's longest ever running card game took place. It cost $1,000 to buy your way in. There was a 3-day waiting list. You could play for as long as you like and then just go. And it lasted 8 years, 5 months and 3 days. And one frequent visitor to it was Doc Holliday.
And underneath the stage, again from my own archive, is where that legendary card game was supposed to have taken place. Well, we're in Tombstone, so let's move on to the gunfight at the OK Corral. Or was it? Let's take a look into that.
This is Hafford's Corner, and this is where the Earps were standing with Doc Holliday, and they were waiting, and people were running back and forth, and it really was more like a schoolyard fight. Okay, there was probably 200 people here, half the town, because they knew there was going to be a fight that was going to come off.
But that's not at all like you see it in the movies. In the films, these streets are completely empty except for these incredibly sexy gunslingers.
So let's go back to a still from that last Tony Robinson clip, and you will see this point here was where I stood with my own outlaw group, the Goose Flats Gunslingers. So let's go back to the corner of 4th and Allen and rejoin Tombstone Tony.
4th Street. Wyatt and Virgil in the front. Doc and Morgan are in the back. Now Morgan says What are we going to do if they're on horseback? Because they didn't know how many people they were going to meet down there. There could be 100 cowboys down there. They've been hearing the rumors from everybody coming back and forth.
And this is the exact spot where us gunslingers had our photo taken.
And Wyatt Earp just looks over his shoulder and says, we'll shoot the horses. So these are some guys with some sand, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's cut back to me on the corner of 4th and Allen.
On October, I think it was the 26th, 1881, on the day of the gunfight. Famous gunfight on Fremont Street, in a vacant lot next to the OK Corral, to be exact. At this corner here was where the Earps and Doc Holliday assembled. And then from here they made their walk down this sidewalk here.
Now when they get down a little bit further though, this is where Doc Holliday sees that they're in his side yard. He's rooming at Fly's boarding house and they're waiting for him. It'd be like if you came home from work and there were some gangsters in your side yard, you wouldn't like that.
This is 4th Street. We're back onto history now. Down this road here and round this corner here and into history. This is where the Earps walked on their way to their confrontation with the Clantons and McClarys at the OK Corral.
They make a left out into the middle of the street.
Where are they going to?
So they go into the middle of Fremont Street, and that's when they spread out four guys walking abreast. And that's the classic legendary image that we have of the Earps, because they're ready to roll.
But Virgil Earp made one huge mistake.
Never take a drunk dentist to make an arrest, okay?
This is how you get into the OK Corral?
This is the OK Corral. The fight is about to come off down here. They turned left right here, and they walked into an 18-foot wide space.
Meanwhile, I'm just following along right behind them.
And what you will not know, unless you're a resident, is that you see the sign there that says OK Corral. Well, that was the site of the gunfight at the OK Corral. But the OK Corral isn't there. The OK Corral used to be in here. It went all the way through that wall up there, and it comes out as a pair of gates on Allen Street. This is where the OK Corral used to be. So if you walk down here a little bit, you'll see a reconstruction of Fly's photography studio, and this is the site of the gunfight at the OK Corral, which again is an invention of Hollywood, because this was a vacant lot on Fremont Street, and this is where the Earps walked in to confront the Clantons and the McClarys in there. And 3 of the guys died on the street just out here. So really it was known straight after the battle as the gunfight on Fremont Street, or the Fremont Street gunfight. But it should really be called gunfight in the vacant lot on Fremont Street next to the OK Corral, which is there. Anyway, history lesson over.
Tom and Frank McClary and Billy Clanton were all killed in the fight. Their bodies were displayed in the window of the local undertakers. The gunfight that killed these men made Tombstone famous.
So, there we have it. I hope you enjoyed our little stroll around Tombstone. It's not the first time I've done it, but I wanted to make this video today not so much for my own ramblings, but to walk in the footsteps of the great and the good. I mean, I'm not talking about Wyatt Earp or Doc Holliday right now. I'm talking about Sir Tony Robinson, aka Baldrick. Obviously, huge credit must go to Tony Robinson. I didn't know he was a Western buff, and who would have thought that he was the last person you'd expect to see doing a documentary here in Tombstone. The clips I've used in this video come from episode 3. I thoroughly recommend it, and you can get it on YouTube. I've used clips from 2 of my videos. Both of them are on YouTube. The first one is Thanksgiving in Tombstone. I go for a walk around town on a beautiful Thanksgiving morning in 2018. Not a soul in town. So it was great to walk around. I go into a lot of the historic buildings, much more than the OK Corral. So if you're interested, it's well worth a look. The second video was Tombstone birthday. It's my birthday 2018, where I went for another walk around town, and I covered some of the OK Corral stuff in a bit more detail, so you may find that interesting. So once again, thanks to Tony Robinson and his production crew. I hope they enjoyed their time in Tombstone. The last people I would ever have expected to be there, but you were very welcome. Bye-bye.